Good morning, third grade. Today we are going to be talking about Earth's systems. We're going to wait for our lesson to pull up here. Maybe. Let's try. Okay, there we go. So we're going to be talking about Earth's systems, and some components of Earth's systems are precipitation, temperature, and wind. And these are all elements of climate and weather. And we're going to be talking about our region's climate and weather. So first we're going to go over our Tennessee standard. It is ESS 2.3. It says to use tables, graphs, and tools to describe precipitation, temperature, and wind, direction, and speed to determine local weather and climate. So that is what we're going to be learning about today. On your desk, you should have 3 different sheets. Two of them are your guided note sheets. The pictures go along with the slides, so at each slide you'll write down the answers to the questions and keep these for your notes. And then the other sheet is a practice worksheet that we're going to do at the end of the lesson. So the first thing I want you to do is where it says what we know, at the top of your sheet, write a picture or draw a picture of precipitation, temperature, and wind, and just what you think an example of them would be. Okay, after you've got that done, we're going to go and look at what pictures I chose. So for precipitation, I chose a rain cloud. We're going to learn that precipitation is water that falls from the sky, and it can be in many different forms, such as rain, snow, sleet. It all depends on the temperature at what kind of precipitation will fall. But I chose rain. For temperature, I chose the sun because it is what makes us warm, and warm weather is my favorite. You could have chose something to describe cold weather, like a snowflake, but I chose the sun. And for wind, I did a little cloud blowing air because we're going to learn that air is wind that is blown through the earth. So next, we're going to talk about weather and climate in our local area. So under that Tennessee picture on your note sheet is where you're going to be taking these notes. Our region is East Tennessee. That is where we live. And we're going to talk about the difference between weather and climate, because there is a difference. So weather is the atmospheric conditions on a daily basis. An example would be the weather today is 70 degrees and cloudy. And that is just for one day on a daily basis. And climate is the averages of all the weather in a region over an extended period of time. So like the high average, the low average temperature over a long time in a specific region. And our region is East Tennessee. Our climate is called moderate because we have cool winters and warm summers. We don't have drastically cool winters or cold winters like huge amounts of rain or snowstorms. We get some snow, but it's pretty moderate. And we have warm summers. It's not drastically hot, but we still have some hot, warm summers. So our region has a moderate climate. Okay, so next we're going to be talking about one element that has to do with climate and weather, and that is precipitation. So under your precipitation section on your notes, go ahead and write or answer the questions as we go through this slide. So precipitation is water that falls from the sky in forms of rain, snow, sleet, drizzle, hail, and there are many others. Rain, we all know, is like a steady water falling from the sky. Sleet is a mixture between rain and snow. Then we have snow. A drizzle is like a light rain, and hail is ice. And as I said earlier, the temperature determines all of these types of precipitation that falls from the sky. So when it's warm outside, we'll have straight rain, and if it's absolutely freezing outside, we'll probably have some snow. This graph here on our left is called a bar graph, and it is a graph of the average monthly precipitation in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is right near us. So using a tool that we're going to learn about next, you can measure the precipitation, and then they have put it into a graph. So we see here in January, the average rainfall was about 4.5 inches. And this is the tool they use to measure the precipitation, and it is called a rain gauge. It is a device for collecting and measuring the amount of rain that falls. You can set this outside and it will catch all the precipitation from the sky, and it has measurements on it, normally in inches, and then you take that data and put it into a graph. So a rain gauge is the tool that is used to measure precipitation. Next, we're going to move on to temperature. Temperature is an objective measurement of how hot or cold it is in an area. So this graph over here, the warm temperatures are represented by the red line, and the cold temperatures are represented by the blue line. This is called a line graph, and it is the average temperature range in Knoxville throughout a year. We can see that the low is around 30, below 30 in January, and in the high is around 45. But over in the summer months where it gets really hot, like July, the average low is just below 70 and the average high is around 85. So the temperature changes based on the season we're in. And a tool used to measure this temperature is called a thermometer. And a thermometer is a tool used for indicating temperature, usually in Fahrenheit or Celsius. So in other parts of the world, they use a type of, or a form of measurement called Celsius, but here in America, we use Fahrenheit. And you can just set this thermometer out, and the red will go up to the temperature it is. This thermometer is reading about 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So a thermometer is what we use to measure temperature. Now we're going to talk about wind. It is the natural movement of air. It can blow in many different directions at many different speeds. So you may wonder how wind is created, and that is because it is created because the uneven heating of the earth by the sun and the earth's rotation. So this picture demonstrates that that air that gets hot will rise, it will cool in the sky, and then come back down. So our takeaway from this is that hot air rises, cool air sinks, and it creates a cycle. And that is why we have wind. And this is a tool used to measure the direction of the wind. It is called an anemometer. It has arms attached to a rod, and when the wind blows, the cups on the rod will rotate. The stronger the wind, the faster the rotation. So whenever the wind's blowing really fast, those little cups will spin around super fast, and when it's blowing slow, they'll spin slower. We're going to do an activity with that later. And next we're going to talk about the tool that measures the direction. It's called a wind vane. It has north, south, east, west on the bottom, and then on the top part that spins, kind of like the tool before. This one has an arrow though, and it will point to the direction that the wind is blowing. So for our activity, we have a at-home anemometer. It is supposed to resemble this, and this is the rod, and these are the arms or the cups. And so whenever the wind's blowing really fast, this will spin super fast, and whenever the wind's blowing slow, it will move slowly. Okay, now we're going to do some practice. So on your next worksheet, you can put your notes to the side, and you can use them to answer the 5 questions on this sheet that I gave you. So go ahead and take time to answer those questions. Okay, now that you've got those ready, we're going to go over the answers. So number 1 asked, what is the difference between weather and climate? So we said that weather is the atmospheric conditions on a daily basis. and we said that the weather today was around 70 degrees and cloudy. And then climate is the weather in a region. Our region is East Tennessee over an extended period of time. And we said that our climate is moderate, but the difference is weather is on a daily basis and climate is in a region over an extended period of time. So if you don't have the right answer, you can go ahead and put the correct answer on your sheet so that you can keep it to study. Number 2 asked you to determine the average precipitation in Knoxville during the month of February. So we have our bar graph on our sheet, and all you had to do is go to the month of February and follow it up to 4 inches. So the answer for number 2 should be 4 inches. Number 3 asked what tool is used to measure temperature. We said that a thermometer measures temperature and that the red will go up to the temperature that you're measuring, and in our area we use Fahrenheit. Number 4 asked, does hot air rise or fall? And we learned that hot air rises and cool air falls. So number 4 is rise. Remember the wind cycle. Hot air rises, cool air falls, and it creates a circle, and that's why we have wind. Number 5, it kind of got cut off on the screen, but it asked what are some different forms of precipitation. Some examples you could have said that would all be correct are rain, snow, sleet, ice, hail. Those are all forms of precipitation, and remember they are determined by the temperature on what kind of precipitation we have. So you can hang on to all these sheets, and great job today. I hope you guys had fun.